To set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. For the reason the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot, and those who are in the flesh cannot please God. But you are not in the flesh, you are not in the Spirit, since the Spirit of God dwells in you. Anyone who does not have the Spirit of Christ does not belong to him. But if Christ is in you, through the body is dead because of sin. The Spirit is life because of righteousness. If the Spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ from the dead will give life to your mortal bodies also through his Spirit that dwells in you.
The Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
A man named Lazarus was sick. He lived in Bethany with his sisters Mary and Martha. This is the Mary who later poured the expensive perfume on the Lord's feet and wiped them with her hair. Her brother, Lazarus, was sick. So the two sisters sent a message to Jesus telling him,
Lord, your dear friend is very sick.
But when Jesus heard about it, he said,
Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. No, it happened for the glory of God, so that the Son of God will receive glory from this.
So although Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, he stayed where he was for the next 2 days. Finally, he said to his disciples,
Let's go back to Judea.
But his disciples objected.
Rabbi, only a few days ago, the people in Judea were trying to stone you. Are you going there again?
There are 12 hours of daylight every day. During the day, people can walk safely. They can see because they have the light of the world. But at night, there is danger of stumbling because they have no light. Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I will go and wake him up.
Lord, if he is sleeping, he will soon get better.
The disciples thought Jesus meant Lazarus was simply sleeping, but Jesus meant Lazarus had died. So he told them plainly,
Lazarus is dead, and for your sakes, I am glad I wasn't there. For now, you will really believe. Come, let's go see him.
Thomas, nicknamed the twin, said to his fellow disciples,
Let's go too and die with Jesus.
When Jesus arrived at Bethany, he was told that Lazarus had already been in his grave for 4 days. Bethany was only a few miles down the road from Jerusalem, and many of the people had come to console Martha and Mary in their loss. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus,
Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask.
Your brother will rise again.
Yes, he will rise when everyone else rises, at the last day.
I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even after dying. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never ever die. Do you believe this, Martha?
Yes, Lord. I have always believed you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who has come into the world from God.
Then she returned to Mary. She called Mary aside from the mourners and told her,
The teacher is here and wants to see you.
So Mary immediately went to him. Jesus had stayed outside the village, at the place where Martha met him. When the people who were at the house consoling Mary saw her leave so hastily, they assumed she was going to Lazarus' grave to weep. So they followed her there. When Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping and saw the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him, and he was deeply troubled.
Where have you put him?
They told him, "Lord, come and see." Then Jesus wept. The people who were standing nearby said, "See how much he loved him?" But some said, "This man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?" Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance.
Roll the stone aside.
But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested.
Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible.
Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?
So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said,
Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me. But I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe you sent him.
Then Jesus shouted,
Lazarus, come out!
And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave clothes, his face wrapped in a headcloth.
Unwrap him and let him go.
Many of the people who were with Mary believed in Jesus when they saw this happen.
The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.